back, everyone, to my video series in which I preview my upcoming book, You Say Soccer, I Say Football. So before I begin, I want to say thank you to my friend Richard, who gave me some great feedback on my videos, and based on that feedback, I'm going to structure these videos a little differently. So instead of summarizing each chapter of my book, I'm going to do something that hopefully you'll find a little more interesting. Which is, I'm just going to take each chapter of my book and give you, depending on the length of each chapter, 3 or 4 or 5 key lessons from each chapter. The first chapter of my book is called The Pause, and it's based on this Spanish or Latin American concept, I should say, called La Pausa, which indeed translated is the pause. And before I get into the 3 key lessons from this chapter, I do need to define what the pause actually is in a footballing sense. Sam Fayaz of the website Fantasista 10 defines the pause as the following. Quote, the ability to slow a match's overall tempo, or, in a more immediate sense, the ability to feint, jink, hesitate, or put one's foot on the ball to buy a couple of seconds and yards to freeze and bamboozle one's opponents. Playing faster by playing slower. It is the technical capacity to create extra time and space while in possession to bring one's team into the game. And in the hurly-burly pace of the modern game, both time and space are the most treasured commodities. So now that we've defined what the pause is in a footballing sense, let's move on to the 3 key lessons from this chapter. So lesson number 1. Unfocus can be more valuable and better than focus. So the Harvard-trained neuroscientist and brain expert, Dr. Srini Pillai, defined unfocusing as the process of relaxing your brain so that it can be ready, recharged, innovative, and coordinated when you need it to be. Unfocusing is really the exact opposite of focusing. Focusing, you're zoomed in 100% on something, and unfocusing, you just zoom out and breathe. You just breathe for a second, you just take a pause. And in his book, Tinker, Dabble, Doodle, Try, Unlock the Power of the Unfocused Mind, I know it's a bit of an unusual book title, but in his book, Dr. Pillai talks about something called leaving the cult of focus. And the general premise of his book is really that we are too obsessed with focus. As a society, we want 10 productivity hacks on how to focus better. And one key takeaway from this chapter in my book, The Pause, is that unfocusing, breathing and stepping away and just giving your brain a second to breathe is far more important, far better, and will help you be more productive than focusing obsessively on something. So lesson number 2 is the following. Too much focus can be the death of us. Now, in this chapter, I talk about a concept called inattentional blindness, which is when you are so focused on one singular thing that you do not perceive, your brain, quite frankly, just does not perceive anything around it. And I talk about the case of a Boston police officer who was chasing down a murder suspect, just running through an alley, chasing him down. And as he was running, right next to him was I think it was another person getting beat up by like a gang or something, by like 2 or 3 other people. And then this case was brought to a jury, and the jury asked this police officer, hey, did you see that fight? And the police officer said, no, I didn't. I was so focused on just that chasing down that one person, I didn't see that fight happen. And the jury didn't believe him. They said, there's no way, you ran so close to that fight, there's no way you could not have seen that instance happen. And he was indeed, I think, convicted of perjury, but the case was eventually overturned, and well, there are more details, of course, in this chapter, but that was a clear case of inattentional blindness, where you're so focused on something that it can mean life or death. And finally, lesson number 3. Work faster and better by working slower. You know how you always say that, wow, I get my best ideas when I'm in the shower or when I'm taking a walk or meditating, maybe? Well, that's connected to something that Dr. Pillay calls the default mode network, or the DMN. And Dr. Pillay calls this the Unfocus network. He calls the DMN essentially the Unfocus network. And it's the part of our brains that basically makes connections between ideas. That says, well, this is an interesting idea. Well, that's also an interesting idea. And how could that be similar? How could there be a connection between that? That could create a big, very productive idea. And the thing is that that network, the DMN, is only activated when we unfocus, when we go slow, when we take a break, when we take a walk, when we are in the shower doing something mundane, when we're doing laundry, when we're doing just some slow, unfocused, mechanical task, which is why it's so important to be able to work slower and to take a pause in order to work faster and better. So this chapter, The Pause, was a really fun one for me to write because it's a great example of how a simple concept in a simple sport like football can be taken to your life at large, at work, or just in other areas of your life. So that's all for today. As always, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and to all my social media channels, and of course my newsletter on my website, edwardp.me. So that's Edward and the letter P.me. And of course, I can't wait till my book goes live. So please keep an eye on the news, and we'll see you next time.